Hello everyone, good evening. The claim I'll be refuting today is human activity is a consequential factor in global climate change. 3 points that the argument made were the Earth's global temperature has increased by 1 to 1.4 degrees Fahrenheit from human-produced CO2. That hydrologic climate is changing due to CO2-induced warming. And third, rapid increase of human-produced CO2 is changing the climate of the oceans. So 1 to 1.4 degrees Fahrenheit change. That is not a very big change considering how in just the past few years our life expectancy has increased technologically and food production advances have gone up. Also, our standards of living are much higher. So it's not something to be completely worried about and fear that we're doomed. But according to Professor Quinn Liu of the University of Waterloo, the man-made cause of global warming is not CO2. Instead, is CFCs, which are more commonly known as chlorofluorocarbons, which are a class of chemicals which were used in aerosol and refrigeration systems. As the use of these CFCs increased during around the World War II period, the globe started warming dramatically, and as the use of these CFCs started decreasing, the world began to cool. When Professor Liu looked at an actual measurement taken in real time by satellites and weather balloons, the results led the professor to state, quote, "I didn't see any CO2 effect on the temperature," end quote. As compared to the climate measurements, which have not been done in real time, which state that CO2 is a large part of the warming. CFCs, so how potent are CFCs compared to CO2? Well, on a molecule per molecule basis, it is 10,000 times more potent than CO2, but even that is considered an understatement according to Professor Liu. So a portion of this increasing temperature is attributed to the fluctuation of the sun heat. Not all of it is coming from CO2, it is a natural cycle that's attributing to it as well. The global warming and cooling is not caused by human-produced CO2 such as human-produced gases, but instead can be attributed to fluctuations in sun heat, also known as solar forcing. Dr. Arthur B. Robinson from the Oregon Institute of Science and Medicine observed that just between the years of 1900 and 2000, solar irradiance, or sunlight, or effect on the sun's UV rays, has increased 0.19%, and that was taken from that time span. Certainly over this fluctuation will continue as the Earth develops and the sun essentially keeps going. Now finally, when coming to the point that essentially the speaker made, that rapid increases of human-produced CO2 changing the climate of the oceans, there is no quantitative data to show that there is a direct cause and effect between human-produced CO2 and the climate of the oceans. Much of the data that is being served to show the effects on global warming is more specifically greenhouse gases and their role in global warming are overblown. Much of the data in global warming affecting hurricanes is not clear, according to Dr. Chris Lansing of the U.S. National Hurricane Center. He even stated that the data sets that are being shown are pretty faulty. Much studies have been done to show that these have been a dramatic increase in power of hurricanes since 1970, and it can be said that it could be attributed to global warming, but no connection has been made between global warming and the number of hurricanes. Many scientists believe that the current period of hyperactivity is caused mostly by long-term natural cycles, as I stated in my previous point, unrelated to global warming. That is from Dr. Lansing. Even the heavy research, Willie Soon, a physicist at the Harvard Smithsonian Center for Astrophysics, stated that there is no quantitative evidence that varying levels of minor greenhouse gases have accounted for even as much as half of the recorded glacial integral temperature changes. In very simple words, changes in the sea level and glaciers melting in the poles. Dr. William Gray, a professor at Emirates of Atmospheric Science at Colorado State University, stated in his article that most of the changes have been done observed are due to multi-decadal and multi-central changes to deep global ocean currents. Such changes have yet to be properly incorporated into global models. With the data sets being so large, the statistics are, and the accuracy of these statistics are very broad and not to the point where they can be accurately recorded in a quantitative way and served on a accurate manner. Thank you.
All right, the advocate's claim is labeled pretty clearly. You set out what the main structure is, and then you respond to each of those points pretty clearly as you're going along. You're diminishing on the first point the importance of this in the changes. And I think that it's interesting, you've got this argument about the standard of living. I'm not exactly sure how the standard of living is going to be a variable in measuring whether or not global warming is going on. There may be an explanation of that, but I didn't think that that was very clear. You basically come up with a counter-causality claim on the first point that says that it's not CO2, but it's the CFCs that are primarily responsible for this, and you give a detailed explanation of how that would work and how important they are, and then you've got another counterclaim on causality about fluctuation in the iridescence of the sun, which I think is also a pretty reasonable argument. How much of that is accounted for, the difference is obviously going to be hard to quantify. I do think that you raise some substantial doubts on the issue there, not by saying that the other folks are lying, but there are these other issues that either have not been adequately factored into the models or that are more important in the models, have ignored that kind of information. I thought it was particularly helpful on the argument concerning the oceans and the presence of hurricanes that you used a source that comes from, the National Hurricane Center, which seems to be, add a lot of credibility because it comes from an independent organization as opposed to, somebody doing their own research and making claims about that. Because that's one of the typical criticisms on those arguments, that it's some special interest group that's sponsoring this sort of research or challenge or skepticism on this. I thought that there were good arguments here about the problems with the models as well. What was missing was any analysis of the advocate's evidence in advancing these claims, and I think that what you basically have are some really solid counterclaims on the issues, but you haven't done much to convince us that there's a problem automatically with the way the advocate reasoned on those points. So I'm presented with two contradictory sets of information, and I need a little bit clearer explanation as to why I should evaluate your arguments as being superior to the ones presented by the advocate. I don't really get that here. If we were having this in a debate, that would be one of those things that you would discuss further as the debate went along, why your issues are more reliable or believable than the way the advocate presented their points. All right. Thank you.